Welcome back everyone to the Hello World guys. This is another episode of the Raycaster game in C++ series, and in this video we are going to start the implementation of a map editor for our game. Alright, so I've gone ahead and opened up my project directory in the terminal here, and before we get into the actual map editing part, I'm going to open up our render.h and render.cvp, and I'm going to give you, basically show you a small optimization that I did. So if you remember, previously what we were doing was that we were having our floor pixels, we were filling them up with the correct values, and then we were creating a texture and an image and a sprite and then rendering that. We do a different thing now, so you can see I have got two member variables, a texture called floor buffer and a sprite called floor buffer sprite. Now in the init function we call the create function on this texture and basically create it with our screen width and screen height, and we need to only do this create the texture actually only once because our screen size does not change. And the way we were doing it earlier, we were basically recreating the texture every frame, and that was of course leading to more OpenGL calls, and as a result it was taking up more memory. Basically it was less optimized. So now we just create a buffer in the beginning with our screen width and screen height, and we also set that sprite to use that texture, and then the only thing we need to do is we need to just update the buffer, so we don't have to actually recreate the texture. So in here you can see we just say floor buffer dot update, and we update it with our floor pixels, and then we use target.draw and we pass it our floor buffer sprite. Of course we don't need to reassign the texture to the sprite because it's been assigned once, and we are not changing the texture, we are just updating its contents. So with that way we don't actually need to create an image at all, and that means that it works. So if I actually run this, you can see that it now gives slightly better performance. I'm getting around 290 fps, so like a 30 fps boost, and yeah, this is working quite well. So now let's get back to our main topic. I'm going to open up the main.cpp file, and we are going to close down the renderer, and inside of this you can see we have got basically this event loop which has first of all create stuff and initialize that, then we go ahead and call the appropriate methods and do render draw view and all of that. Now we are going to have to make in order to make a map editor in this video, we will need to first of all have a state for switching between our 3D view and the map editing view. So for that we'll create here we are just going to create an inline enum. Let's just is going to have basically two states. We are going to call this editor and game, and then we are going to say call this our state. Alright, so we have got this, and this is our state basically, and actually let's create make it an enum class because that's better. So let's do this, and this we have got our state here like this, and now let's go down here, and you can see that we are drawing the window here, drawing our view here. We are going to say if our state is equal to state editor, so state game actually, not editor, then we are going to draw this, and else is going to be editor, we are going to draw something else. So we are going to leave that empty for now, and we are going to do the same thing in this. We are going to say actually let's move that here as well, so like that, and this is going to only update and draw the game when our state is game, and when our state is not game, it's not going to draw that. By default we are going to set this to be game, so we're going to say state colon game. And one more thing we'll change is that you can see we are handling the events here, and we'll also handle the event when the user presses the escape key. So we are going to add another this here. We are going to say else if the event dot type is equal to sf event keyboard, and the reason we just don't choose the keyboard class is because we only want to do this when the user actually presses that, because if the user holds the key then we don't want it to like go back and forth between editor and game. That would be really bad. So let's go ahead and say key event, and if that is pressed, then we are going to actually that's not supposed to be key event, we are going to say key pressed. So we are going to change that to key pressed, and if that's the case, that's the event that we got. Then we are going to also, another thing we'll need to make sure is that our since we only have one condition to handle, we're going to say our event dot key dot code is equal to sf colon keyboard colon and we are going to basically use escape here. You can use any key you want, of course. I'm going to use escape, and if escape is pressed, we'll toggle our game mode. So if our state is equal to state game. Then we are going to set it equal to editor. Actually, we can use the ternary operator for that. So we are going to say state is equal to, if our state is equal to state game, then we are going to say state editor. So like that. And if that's not the case, then we are going to then it means we were in editor, so we are going to set that to game. So currently, of course, we are not doing anything in editor, but let's just go ahead and test that. So you can see I run this. By default, I'm getting this, and if I press my escape key, then I get completely blank. I can try move around it, and you can see that nothing really is happening. And if I press escape again, then I'm back into my Raycaster. So yeah, you can see that that works. And pressing escape means that now I am no longer doing anything here, and yeah, we basically have an empty screen. Before we go any further though, we are going to turn on vertical sync for our window, because that would generally be better. So let's just say set vertical sync enabled, and let's set that to true. What that will do is basically that it will make sure that our window is refreshing at the same rate as the monitor, so that we get like good values. And generally you would see that our frame rate is now locked at 60 something, and it cannot exceed from that amount, like no matter what we do. And this is of course working. And of our even if I try to like move around, you can see that if I go back, I continue from that exact same place. So this means that this functionality is working. Now what we'll change here is that we'll go in this else, and then we'll say map, our map that we have got, and we'll call the draw method on that, which should draw a 2D version of the map. So let's go ahead and call it with window. Let's save that and run make. And in here you can see that if I press escape, now I get the map here, and of course it does not look very good, I guess. That's because well, currently we cannot really do anything in here. We can't move around or basically do anything at all, so this is not looking that great. And of course we are using color values for a map. Now since our maps are not longer based on color but are instead based on textures, then we are going to change our internal representation of the map once again. And I'm going to open up the map class here, and you can see we have got a vector of color here. We are going to change this to use a vector of integers. And speaking of that, it might be better to let's create a type def, so that we can kind of make it better. We should have probably done this earlier, but I guess we can do it now as well. So we are going to call this map grid, and this is going to be represented as a vector of integer, like that. And when we are doing any function, we are going to just use this map grid type instead of putting that directly, so that if we need to change this in the future, then we can do that easily. And let's go ahead and change this and this as well, like that. And I'm going to yeah, it says that type def must be an, actually that's wrong. I kind of switched the order. We need to first of all do this, and then we are going to say map grid here. So we have got that, and now I'm going to open up map.cpp, not main.cpp, map.cpp. And inside of this you can see it's giving us a lot of errors. We are going to change this from SF color black to 0, and in here I'm going to change this to 0 as well. And yeah, it's still giving some error, which is because we can't just set the value like that, because well, actually we are going to say if we are going to set this to whether it is equal to whether it is actually if it is equal to SF color black. So we are going to say SF color black. So if it's black, then we are going to go ahead and return 0, else we are going to return 1. And of course this is just temporary kind of, and we'll change this later when we implement different kind of functionality. So we are going to go here, and you can see we are setting the fill color like this. It's not working. We are going to instead set this to SF color white, for example. If we are going to of course set this only if our grid size is actually valid. So we are going to say grid y x. If that is true, then we are going to set that to SF color white, else we are going to set this to SF color black. And again, this is a bit of a temporary arrangement. Later on we are going to change this to use of course texture, so that we can actually get a preview of the texture as well. So we are going to change this, and of course we'll need to change renderer a bit as well. So it's giving an error because of the way we were testing for this. So I'm going to just go down here, and you can see that we are doing this. We are going to remove all of that, and it's going to automatically convert the integer to a boolean and test it like a boolean. So now if I run this, I still get it working exact same way, and if I go here, you can see we get a black and white kind of view here. So that's awesome, and we are going to actually change this a bit so that when we are setting the fill color, we set this to gray, not black. So we are going to say 70, 70 and 70, and this way our since our background is black, it will look like we have got an actual grid. So this looks a lot better, and of course currently we can do nothing here, but this is a good start, and we have got a working like state system, so we can like move around and switch between these states, and it works kind of seamlessly. So that's pretty awesome, and in the next video we are going to start implementing the actual editor functionality. So stay tuned for that. Make sure to like and subscribe as well, and share this video with other people, and I'll see you in the next one, and bye.